Testing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Guys, let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. You better start saying Madam President. You a whole lie. Listen, I'm going to be like all of the Trump haters when he was elected president and they were saying, not my president. And I'm going to be like all the people who didn't want Obama to be president to say, not my president. So if she is elected, I'm going to be like, that is not my president. Yes, I'm going to be one of those. But I doubt that I'm going to have to say that. Hi, happy Wednesday. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Hi. Thank you, Steven. And hello to everybody on X. Hi, guys. We're going to have a good show. And you know what I'm going to do today? After 1 hour, on the second hour mark, I'm going to drop the StreamYard link. And I want you guys to come up. If you want to come up and, say something for a minute or two, because I don't have a new phone line system. So I'm going to implement the StreamYard link to invite you guys to come on and, make a comment on whatever I talked about today. And what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about, of course, Kamala Harris, honey. Yes. And I'm going to talk about JD Vance. And I'm going to talk about Tampon Tim. Yes, honey. I took the braids out when I got my hair done. However, I just got a trim and a silk press. Bitch did not get color. And so y'all gonna see just a little bit of gray right here because my gray don't grow in all the way in. It stays at the roots, which I don't like. But best believe next week this will be covered up when I go back to the hair salon. Just wanted to let y'all know a little FYI because it's getting on my nerves. So I'm gonna be like this. This is gonna be my good side today. Yes. Guys, please hit the like button. Please share this video on all your social media outlets. Everybody on X, please like and repost. Listen, I want you guys to subscribe to at The Real Just Joe Brown because I do Dana in the mornings. I didn't do it this morning because my hair wasn't done, but I will be back Thursday and Friday morning. So subscribe to The Real Just Joe Brown. That's at 10 a.m. And I may get bold, honey, and start at 9. Also, I have a newsletter dropping soon. So go to the website, therealdananetwork.com, and sign up to the mailing list so you can get that weekly newsletter. And of course, Judge Joe Brown barbecue sauce. Yes, go and buy you some barbecue sauce, honey. The link is in the description. And of course, my beautiful moderators, Katalia, is putting the links in the chat, right? All right. And then the topic is the truth about Kamala and her support in the Black communities. And as you guys can see in my thumbnail, I put Panderer in Chief. And thank you to, it was somebody earlier, Marcus. He corrected me. He said it's Panderer, not pandering. So I had pandering in Chief. So pandering is a verb, Panderer is the noun. Panderer in Chief. Yes, because I'm going to talk about the Divine Nine. And I'm also, towards the end, I'm going to break down the reasons, one of the main reasons why Kamala Harris is dangerous. She is particularly dangerous to Black boys and Black men. And I'm going to break it down why towards the end, right? Indian in Chief. Yes. Yes, honey. So funny. All right. So where do I want to start? My guy. How much the sauce hitting for? I hope go to Amazon. You can go to Amazon.com and buy it. And I think it's like you get 2 original and spicy plus seasoning for $30. It's affordable. All right. My guy, real quick, Trump edges Kamala. I can't stand these ads that pop up like this. Trump edges Kamala Harris with surprising group in a deep blue state. So what state, right? New York State. Surprisingly, Donald Trump has taken a surprisingly lead among Jewish voters in deep blue New York. The Republican gained support from 50% of likely Jewish voters in the state compared to 49% who opted for Vice President Kamala Trump, according to the Siena Research Institute poll. Harris' results show a slip among the electoral groups since President Biden stepped aside in the presidential race after he previously led Trump among New Yorkers' Jewish populations 52% to 46% in June. New York always turns blue. So, we are not too concerned about New York, and that's fine. But it's not about the presidency in New York. It's about the Senate. It's about the House of Representatives. It's about Congress. And it's also about the state Senate being Democrat or Republican control. So when you see a tick for a presidential candidate in blue states for a Republican candidate, you kind of should pay close attention to the local politics. Because what does that mean? What does that mean when people are switching from blue to red? That means that they're going to start voting more Republicans in local positions, official positions. They'll probably eventually vote in a Republican for the Senate and the House, right? So it may not turn blue. I mean, it may not turn red for the presidential election, but on a state election, it could be Republican control in the state house. So that's very important. So I just wanted to highlight that, right? And also, I'm really not paying too much attention to the polls right now because it is a false narrative as far as Kamala Harris leading in the polls or being neck to neck with Donald Trump. Because for the life of me, I cannot understand how she has always polled as the worst vice president in our history, United States history. Well, all of a sudden, when Joe Biden stepped aside and she took over to run for president, right? He endorsed her, which, by the way, wasn't done by the books. But anyway, she has the delegate votes to run for president. All of a sudden, she's neck to neck with Donald Trump and surpassing him in certain states. I'm not believing the polls. They are inflating the numbers. It's high inflation in the poll numbers. But I just wanted to highlight that when you do see a candidate, particularly in a solid blue state, gaining support for the other side, that's really going to be more important to your local politics. But speaking of politics and speaking of Congress, honey, somebody lost their seat. Yes, we all know, what's his name? Bowman out of New York. Bowman out of New York. He lost in the primary. And we have another Democrat losing in the primaries. She didn't even make it to the general election. Now, remember when Hamas attacked the state of Israel October the 7th on my damn birthday? And you had the Cori Bushes, the Ilhan Omars, and the other Muslim woman that's in the House of Representatives, and of course, batshit crazy Alexandria Cortez. They were saying ceasefire. They were pro-Palestinian, which is fine. However, your donors and the people that put money behind you to really help you to get into the House of Representatives, they were all Jewish organizations, all Jewish super PACs. So even though you are saying ceasefire in Gaza, you still got to pay the piper. And she was going very hard for her support for Gaza, right? The Palestinians. And it came out, I think it was APAC came out a couple months ago and said, listen, if she doesn't shut up, we're going to allocate money to her opponent. And that's what they did. And she lost. Yeah. Cori Bush lost. Before I get to her not acceptance. Damn. What is wrong with me today? Before I get to her farewell ghetto speech, she lost by a lot to somebody named Bell. And it looked like it was a Green Party. She only got 33.1% of the vote. 63.8% went to somebody named Bell in a Democrat primary. And he's probably going to face off with a Republican, and the Republican probably is going to win. But yeah, girl, you ain't stand a chance. So the squad already lost 2 members, and now they're back to their original 4. Ilion, the black bald-headed woman out of Boston, well, Massachusetts, batshit crazy Alexandria Cortez, and the Muslim woman from Michigan. They lost Bowman. Now they lost Cori Bush. Who is next from the squad to go? But I wanted to play this. This was her speech after losing.
Pulling me away from my position as Congresswoman. All you did was take some of the strings off. Let's be clear. 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 Let's talk about what it really is. Because see, now I don't have to worry about some strings that I have attached to it as much as I love my job. But all they did was radicalize me, and so now they need to be afraid.
Did she just use the N-word, which was just beeped out? Who are the niggas that you're referring to? The white people that's been donating to your campaign?
See, now they about to see this other Cori, this other side. Because let me say this. I just grew up a whole lot more over the last few weeks. Just grew up a whole different way. And so what they are about to get, they think. So the thing is this. The thing is this. I don't think that anything, there is nothing that happens in my life that happens in vain. So if this happened, it's because it was meant to happen. And let me say, it's because of the work that I need to do. And let me say this. APAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down. Pulling me away from my position as Congresswoman. All you did was take some of the strings off.
So basically, let me just break this down. You on your black mammy rant. I'm calling her a mammy. Why? Because when she was in the House of Representatives in Congress, what did this woman advocate for, specifically for Black Americans, specifically in her district? Because they all represent a district in their state. What public policies did she try to get passed? None. She did, however, advocate for pro-choice abortion. And I believe she was one of the ones that wanted to push for women to have the option of late term or third trimester abortion, if I'm not correct, or if I'm correct or not. However, She has done nothing. Now, on the 12th hour, which was a couple months ago this year, she mentioned reparations, but she didn't gather up the Congressional Black Caucus, which she was a part of, to say, let's have a block vote to get this, at least the study on a federal level, the HR 40 passed, or whatever the new bill they revised it to be. She didn't do that. She did nothing for her constituents. She supports Gaza. She supports the Palestinians. She supports the illegals coming here across the border. She supports the illegals, from her fellow counterpart, Ilhan Omar, the Somalians. She goes hard for every other group. And you were loving all that money from AIPAC, honey. You took that money that they gave you to place your ass in that position. So you did have strings. Everyone in Congress have strings. You just didn't know how to play the game. You went too far left radical. And you forgot your place. And they had to show you your place. And now you want to pander back to Black people. Because if you look in this video, majority of all these people are Black. And Black people love a good sermon. They love to get riled up. Yeah, girl, we gonna get them. We gonna come for them. How you gonna come from that powerful super PAC? That super PAC didn't just happen 10 years ago. It happened over 20 years, over 2-3 decades. AIPAC has been around for a long time, probably before it was even called AIPAC. The point that I'm trying to make here is they put you in that position. You messed up. You forgot your place. And listen, I don't think the AIPAC donors tell Black politicians don't do anything for Black people. I don't know. I could be wrong, but let's just say they did not. You chose not to. You got booted up out of your position because you sided with the Palestinians, with Gaza. You did. You sided with them to where you condemned the state of Israel. There are other politicians who probably really don't agree with Israel, but they're not dumb enough to go as far radical as she did. That is why she got booted up out of there. If she would have played the game, and part of that game, if she would have at least advocated for Black Americans, particularly her constituents, you would still be in a position. But now all of a sudden, you got booted out because you didn't want to play by the rules to make sure that you stay on the strings being a puppet. So now you want to go Black Panther. And you want these same people who you neglected to support you and go rogue with you. And once again, all these people in our audience are hooping and hollering, cheering her on, supporting her and her bullshit. If I lived in her district, I'd be like, girl, why would I support you now when you had some type of power and position of influence? You didn't use it to help us. Ilhan, she doesn't have to stay on those strings of AIPAC, because the number one thing that she does, that she did from day one and continue to do, is support the Somalians. So she's always going to be in that position of power. And even if she verbally comes out and say ceasefire or whatever, she knows how to pull it back. So she's out of there along with Bowman. Bowman started talking about that reparations BS at the 12th hour. It's too late, bruh. It's too late. AIPAC is not playing with y'all. This is chess. This is not some not ghetto monopoly. This is not ghetto checkers. This is not Chinese checkers. Yeah, Black Panthers was a movement that included all melanated people who were struggling. Yeah, they were a serious movement. She's not. That's what I'm saying. She's making a mockery of black people and the black movement, such as a Black Panther movement. She's not saying that, oh, let's revitalize it. I'm talking about her energy. The way she's talking in this video, like, girl, have several seats. And black people, you need to stop supporting these black politicians because they look like you and sound like you. Because when they are in a position of power, when they are in a position of influence, they don't do nothing for you or for us. That's all I want to say. Now, why why does why is everybody calling Tim Walsh Tampon Tim? And that's what I said to myself. Why are they calling him Tampon Tim? Where did they get this from? Because Trump, he knows how to come up with a meme. And then I did some research, or it didn't take long. I just Googled Tampon Tim. Well, this is why, right? They called Tim Walsh Tampon Tim because of this crazy ass law he passed in the state of Minnesota. Vice President Kamala Harris, Democrat nominee for president, announced Walsh will be her running mate. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Last month, he went viral after labeling Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, just weird in an interview. These guys are creepy and, yes, just weird as hell. Now, Trump supporters are seeking to paint Walsh as weird and radical, with a nickname that references a bill he signed that requires free menstrual products to be stocked in Minnesota school bathrooms. Yes, this perverted ass man. He signed a bill that went into effect January the 1st of this year that allowed menstrual products such as tampons and maxi pads to be stationed in the boys' bathroom from grade 4 through 12. Have you lost all of your goddamn mind? Why would you do that? And I'm just like, okay, is it for the boys who say they are girls, or is this the girls who said that they are boys and they are allowed to go and use the boys' bathroom, but they haven't had a sex change, so they still get their periods, and that's why you need it in the boys' bathroom, because you allow people who use the bathroom of the gender that they identify with. So now you have to put menstrual products in the girls and the boys' bathrooms. Well, why have girls and boys' bathrooms? So that's why they call him Tampon Tim. And this is the person who you want to be vice president. This is the so-called A team that you want to run this country. You mean to tell me, because this is why it goes back to the polls. The polls run around here saying she's 46 and Trump is 47. She's neck to neck, or she's surpassing him in some states. So let's just say Kamala Harris is winning the popularity contest right now. You mean to tell me majority of Americans, over 50% of Americans, you agree with this shit? Yes, tampons in the boys' bathroom. So, or is something that you're willing to overlook because you believe in her so much? You believe in her who don't even have an agenda on her website. You believe in her who has not sat up here and held a press conference to talk about policies that she wants to implement. You believe in her who slept her way to the top, literally. She didn't earn it. The law, which went into effect January 1st, has language that allows access to menstrual products to transgender students. It states that products such as pads and tampons must be available to all menstruating students in restrooms regularly used by students in grades 4 through 12. Republican lawmakers have failed to amend the bill so that it would apply only to girls' bathroom. Well, why did they fail to amend it? On Tuesday, Trump campaign spokesperson Caroline Leavitt blasted Walz over the law. I would too. That is crazy. As a woman, she says, I think there is no greater threat to our health than leaders who support gender transition surgeries for young minors, who support putting tampons in men's bathroom in public schools. Those are radical policies that Tim Walz support. And I 100% agree with her. First of all, listen, if you want to change your gender, that is your business when you are an adult. Leave the kids alone. They never talk about the negative or the cons of doing that, the everlasting repercussions that you will have for the rest of your life, all the health ailments. So yeah, so this is the A team that 50% of Americans right now are supporting. So I'm starting to think that America has a problem when it comes to how we vote. People vote due to popularity, likability. People are not voting on policies. And this is why I do have respect for JD Vance, because he was so boring and nervous during the RNC convention. But lately, for the past few days, oh, this is so annoying. He has stepped up and you're starting to see the real JD Vance. And I appreciate that because he's talking about policies. Let me stop sharing that for a minute. He's actually talking about policies because there's something else I want to share. And I really can't wait for the debate between JD Vance and Tim Walz because, you know, Tim Walz, he's very loud and gregarious, all this other stuff. But JD Vance, he's no slouch. And I've been really surprised by, you know, the way he's been conducting himself when it comes to the press, when it comes to challenging Kamala Harris and her VP select. I want to share this video. What is this? Playlist. All right. All right, here we go. This is it.
Vice President Kamala Harris is accused of snubbing Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro because of his religion. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott and former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin both said that Shapiro's Jewish heritage disqualified him. Even Van Jones admitted that the Shapiro snub caters to the darker parts of the Democratic Party.
You have a lot of young people who are concerned about Gaza. You have a lot of Muslims and Arabs and others. They have not felt seen by the Biden administration. But you also have anti-Semitism that's gotten marbled into this party. You can be for the Palestinians without being an anti-Jewish bigot, but there are some anti-Jewish bigots out there. And there's some disquiet now, and there has to be. How much of what just happened is caving into some of these darker parts in the party? So that's going to have to get worked out. It's going to have to get talked through.
Well, this morning, J.D. Vance spoke about why he thinks anti-Semitism could have played a role in Harris's choice.
I did not say that that was the only reason that Kamala Harris didn't choose Josh Shapiro. So you should, take a little less DNC talking points when you ask your questions and ask a real question. I have suggested that Kamala Harris was motivated, or at least her party was motivated by anti-Semitism. And the evidence that I offer for that is what dozens of Democratic activists said in the run-up to her selecting her nominee. There were multiple grassroots activists, multiple media personalities, multiple people with influence in the Democrat Party who suggested that she should not choose Josh Shapiro because of his ethnic background. And look, I don't care what your ethnic background is. I know Donald Trump doesn't care what your ethnic background is. I do not want to live in a country where we're choosing who the next VP is based on skin color or ethnic heritage. Choose based on merit. And the fact that so many prominent leaders in the far left felt empowered to talk about Shapiro's ethnic heritage is a disgrace. And I think it's a scandal for the Democrat Party. Yes, I do.
So almost every political prognosticator or person who does this for a living thinks that the snubbing of Shapiro was very odd. So I want to explore Kamala's motives for why she went with Tim Walz. Now, one of those motives could be the fact that Shapiro is Jewish. Look, he is critical of the Netanyahu government, but he is Jewish, and there is a worry about the Gaza protesters. Morgan, I saw this in the LA Times just before the choice was made. What kind of fences will the police have? Speaking of the DNC, will they bring dogs? Hatem Abudaya asked. Hatem is someone who organizes these protesters, these Gazan protesters. He stopped in the shadow of the United Center. That's where the DNC will be. And he said that this will draw tens of thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators who are expected to protest against U.S. support of Israel. So was Kamala worried about inflaming this by picking someone like Josh Shapiro?
This was a very big conversation online over the weekend, especially when it started to look like at the end of last week that he may be the pick. I think it probably has a lot more to do with the fact that he's just an enormously talented politician and would have outshone her. When I saw him giving the speech yesterday, when I was watching it on Fox, I thought, "Ooh, thank God they didn't pick him."
Alpha male.
Because he's very good.
The alpha male is in the
really
room.
good. And it's Pennsylvania, obviously a state that they need. So I think it was an error on their part not to pick him. I'm somewhat relieved that they didn't. But saying that, if you look at the conversations that happened online, as a Jewish person in America, you have to be astounded that a national conversation can happen with the base of a party where they are choosing not to pick someone based off of their faith, based off of their religion. So you don't have to take it from us. I don't even think you have to assume this was part of the conversation. Just go look on social media.
So here may be the actual reason that this happened. Governor Shapiro outshined Kamala Harris last night. He just did. I mean, he gave people Obama-type vibes with his cadence, with the way he delivered his message. And then, as I was leaving here yesterday, Bill, I saw this Politico reporting that Josh Shapiro, after his Sunday meeting, someone on his team called Kamala Harris's office and said that he was struggling with the decision to leave his current job as governor. And I thought to myself, why is he struggling with this? And then later in the night, CNN came out with this report, and it was about some of the questions Kamala Harris wanted to ask. She wanted to make sure she could ask questions like this during the vetting process. You're going to go from a principal to a hybrid principal staffer. Okay, so the VP is now a staffer. Ooh. Can you make that transition? The biggest hurdle for Shapiro was his face-to-face meeting where he posed specific questions about the role of vice president, including what decisions he would be included in making.
I think it'd be pretty interesting to get a camera in that interview, the two of them. I don't know.
I want to pause it right there real quick because that was interesting too. If that is her questions that she was asking these potential VP running mates, Kamala Harris basically asking the question, can you follow order from a woman? Do you have a problem with that? That's basically that's basically the purpose of that particular question. You're going from being principal to a hybrid. That means you're going from being the head man in charge of a whole state to answering to me. And Shapiro probably wasn't good with that. That probably didn't sit well with him. You know, can a man follow a woman's lead, especially when you talk about a woman that's supposed to be leading this country? That is a big thing. And I think men have a problem with that. Along with something else that came out, that it could have been some type of sexual scandal with Shapiro. And of course, it's definitely probably the Israel, him being Jewish. Is that going to alienate all of her liberal supporters, right? Because all the liberal supporters are pro-Palestinian.
What the reason is, but it's possible, to your point. Look, there was a lot of pushback that was just emanating from somewhere, Friday and Saturday into Sunday, that was stacking up against him. And where that was coming from, I don't know. Fetterman was one of them was talking about.
Yes.
I mean, look, we won't know, but hypothetically speaking, there's a chance if Josh Shapiro was on the ticket, you could have 50,000 people in Michigan who sit out this election. They would choose not to vote. That's a possibility. I'm not saying it was. I thought he was very impressive yesterday. I thought she gave a great speech. She reads a great teleprompter. I don't know what she is off the teleprompter. That's what America needs to know. Apparently, Tim Walz never read a teleprompter, and he went during the vetting process, and he told them, he said, listen, one thing you got to know about me, I can't do this prompter thing. And so they practiced backstage. I thought he pulled it off equally as well. So I give all three of them credit for their performance last night in Philadelphia. It was a packed house, 15,000 people going nuts. I think Chicago will see a similar scene. There's one more thing I want to say.
Hi there, everyone. It's Sage Robbins.
And it's Tony Robbins.
I've felt for several weeks that J.D. Vance was hesitant in his interviews, in his answers on the stump. I thought his speech in person in Milwaukee was less than impressive. I, however, as of yesterday, believe that he hit his stride. And it happened when his plane landed in Philadelphia. And he was talking with reporters on the plane. He knew Walz was going to be his counter on the Democratic ticket. And he said, it was answering questions, blah, 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 blah. He said, I want to say one thing. I said, you people are not doing your job. You're allowing her 16 days as of yesterday now not to answer any questions. I'm asking you, do your job. And I thought the press conference he held today, impromptu, in Detroit, that we watched live for 25 minutes, I thought the questions were great. I thought the answers were very impressive. I think J.D. Vance is a different politician today than he was 48 hours ago.
Yeah, I mean, I had been reporting that he had stumbled. I even, had interviewed members of the campaign, like, what's next for him? He did something that we don't normally see. He turned a rally into a news conference. And the reason I think you liked it so much is because you ad-lib a lot. We all do. We do an unscripted talk show here. We appreciate it when people can think on their feet.
Okay.
And he didn't know the questions. We didn't know what his answers were going to be. They weren't in a prompter. So I think that is growth in an area that perhaps Kamala Harris will never have. It's at least not in the next 90 days. Tim Walz a little bit more, but I thought the star last night was the Pennsylvania governor.
No doubt.
Josh Shapiro.
Yeah.
And I began to have even more questions about why they didn't choose him. Of course, we brought up Senator Fetterman, so I found this in my notes. He accused Shapiro of being excessively focused on his own personal ambitions. Well, if you know you have more talent than the top of the ticket, you might be ambitious too.
Yeah, that's right. Fetterman, it was funny to watch his face as Josh Shapiro took the stage. They have a little angst between them, but Josh Shapiro stole the show. When you watch that, you thought, Emily, this is the case for primaries because Kamala Harris would have never become the nominee against someone like Josh Shapiro, who is that good on the stump. And by the way, that good when he takes questions.
So it was either a colossal miscalculation on her part or evidence of her massive hubris that we know has been following her around. We choose chemistry, or do you choose obsequience? Is that what you choose, right? You choose someone that's just going to sit there and take it, essentially. Governor Shapiro is who he is because of his experience, because of his accomplishments, in addition to that chemistry and that leadership aura around him, because he actually is one. I'll point out something interesting that Tammy Bruce talked about yesterday I found so fascinating. Perhaps it was him that said, no, thanks, I'll sit this out. Perhaps it was him that said, I actually don't want anything to do with this kind of ticket or this kind of vice president, presidential candidate that would that would even consider people sitting out in Minnesota as even a factor, because proudly as a Jewish American, I don't want anything to do with that level of even hint of anti-Semitism up to full-blown acquiescence to anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Bravo for him if that's the case.
If that's the case, who knows? That political reporting hints at that. And maybe he's preserving himself for 2028. Maybe that's the best.
All right. So I like that segment. That was a good segment. And I love Harris Faulkner. However, They make some good points. Why didn't she choose Shapiro? Is it because, one, he did not want to follow after women, and he didn't want to leave his job as governor where he's in control of everything to being subpar as VP? VP works well for Kamala Harris because she doesn't know anything anyway. She does not have that experience. When you look at a Shapiro, he needs to be in charge, and he's very charismatic. He's a good public speaker. And he don't want to lead someone who does not know what they're doing, right? Who laughs at every damn thing. So I could just sit this out and wait for 2028 and possibly be the Democrat nominee for president in 2028. And so that is realistic because honestly, other than that, you should have picked Shapiro, but you never want your, sidekick to outshine you. And it looks like to a certain degree, if Tim Walz did not have the type of radical leftist, Marxist type of policy making resume, he would outshine Kamala too. So it's basically a battle of who's the most liberal and who's the most radical between Kamala and Tim. But who in the hell wants that running this country? So we have to look at it. These are two individuals who think alike on all matters, on all public policies. So what does that mean for us? Where's this country going to be headed? What are they going to turn this country into? A Marxist, a communist, a socialist country, right? Well, this country wasn't built on socialism. We may practice a little bit of socialism, but this country is not a socialist society. But these two, Harris and Walz, they want to make this a socialist country. And that is a problem. However, I like JD Vance. He does not get enough credit.
What if I told you
he does not get enough credit, and he should? He did bomb on that RNC speech.
Sir.
Last night, Governor Walz suggested that because of your Ivy League education and your Silicon backing your political career, that you yourself are part of the elite. What are your first impressions of them trying to frame you this way to the American public?
Well, look, I came from a family where nobody in my family had ever gone to law school. I grew up in a poor family. The fact that Tim Walz wants to turn it into a bad thing, that I actually worked myself through college, through law school, and made something myself, to me, that's the American dream. And if Tim Walz wants to insult it, I think that's frankly pretty bizarre. Now, look, what really bothers me about Tim Walz, it's not even the positions that he's taken, though certainly he has been a far left radical. You know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest. Something, again, if you guys ever get an opportunity to ask Tim Walz or Kamala Harris some questions, he made this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they put it out there now, because he said that and he was making a point about gun control. He said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did. Sir.
Listen, yes, he is getting his groove. He's getting into his groove, and I love it. He looks like he wants to be here. He looks like he's willing to work for it. He's willing to fight for it, and he's qualified for that position. You know, I respect all of our veterans and the people who are actively serving in the military on all branches, you know, and he is a Marine. Those are the first ones to go in and straighten shit out, basically, right? So he knows what that is like. And so I cannot wait for the vice president debate. I think they get one debate, and the president's with the people running for president, they get two. However, you know what's weird? It's not weird, just a little sidebar. This is the first time, probably in a long time, that this presidential election are two people who are not currently president. Usually it's one person that's currently president because they want to run for reelection. Trump is running for president because he's not president now, and Kamala was never president. But anyway, I can't wait for this debate because I believe JD Vance will destroy Tim Walz, because the only thing Tim Walz could say is, I put tampons in the boys' bathroom because I support gender-free society. Are you kidding me? That is not going to go over well with the American people. And the fact is that you have a stolen valor history. That's two things that kills you alone. So I can't wait for that debate. And I am glad that Trump did pick somebody younger, but someone who comes from humble beginnings, right? Unlike Obama, who did not, who grew up wealthy and affluent. JD Vance didn't. He got it in from the dirt. Yeah, his background is hillbilly, but he still got it in from the dirt. So he is a foundational American. A true foundational American. Let's get into the black. Let's get into the black segment of this show. Just real quick, why is Ben Stiller wishing to be black? So this whole theme of tonight's show is about pandering. After I break down the pandering to the black communities, Kamala Harris pandering to the black community, I outline a very special segment of her talking to a particular organization about all of her good deeds that she did in San Francisco and as DA. And I'm going to break that down as to why Kamala Harris is dangerous for black boys and black men. But anyway, Ben Stiller, ever since Tim Walz was announced to be Kamala Harris' running mate, he donated $150,000 to Kamala Harris' campaign. And he's saying, I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black. Ben, no, they don't. Why would a white Jewish man wish to be black? Whether it's here or anywhere in this world.
I just want to let you know I'm going to match your $150,000 donation. Everybody's got to get out and vote and donate. And she's also a historic candidate. You know, it's going to be the first woman president. And that's incredibly exciting. And, you know, she's Indian, she's black, she's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. You know, I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black. You know, it's just get out there and vote and donate and like take advantage. This is such an important time right now, and this wave of energy that's happening, we got to keep going with it. So please do everything you can.
But she's not black, Ben, and this has been the topic of discussion ever since this woman announced. Well, ever since they prompt her up to run for president, and honestly, she kind of could have turned it down. She didn't have to run to run for presidency. She could have turned it down. That lets you know she always wanted it, right? And they knew that she was going to be running because Biden is C now and he has dementia, allegedly. However, her main so-called supporters are the Divine Nine. Let me just say this. Divine Nine cannot get you into the White House. They don't have enough power. Yeah, what they raised, maybe $5 million in 24 hours. But when you had white women for Kamala, they raised $20 million. Divine Nine don't have the money, they don't have the wealth, they don't have the influence, they don't have the power, they don't even have the respect from Black people in general in this country. Sorry, you don't. Because you don't do anything for the Black community. I'm talking about the dirty, poor Black community. You do things for people on your level in your organizations. But she panders to them like crazy. She props them up all the damn time, because that is the only group that's really fucking with Kamala Harris. Ain't nobody else taking that girl seriously.
9. 9. 9 historically Black fraternities and sororities formed more than a century ago when Black people couldn't join white organizations. The Divine Nine has been a force in movements from civil rights to voting rights, and they say their political strength will make history once again this election.
Day one, Kamala Harris kicks off with an army. Look at just this force in this room.
Kamala Harris joined Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority in 1986 at Howard University, making her one of the 2.5 million members of the Divine Nine. CNN sat down with a room full of Divine Nine members speaking in their own capacity and not on behalf of their organizations. They're aware of their potential political influence this election, and they're excited to wield it.
2.5 million strong. Now look at how we can reach out to our families, our friends, our churches.
We are the Girl Scout leaders. We are the Boy Scout leaders. We represent every facet of Black America.
We are credible messengers. We have been in the communities. We have been working with these subpopulations, and they trust us.
Who trusts your ass? What communities have you been in? Girl Scout, Boy Scouts. Well, when was the last time you saw Girl Scout, Boy Scouts in the projects? When was the last time you saw the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, in a poor Black neighborhood in Flint? All of this power that you guys are running around here claiming to have or bringing together, all of this influence, where were you when Black people were getting sick, dying, skin breaking out, drinking dirty, polluted water, getting all types of, chronic diseases and cancer in Flint, Michigan? Where were the influence then? Where is your influence to push for justice for Sonia Macy, for Trayvon Martin? Say her name. Say his name. Where were your influence then? See, this is why, and I get it, why Mark Carter, right? He can't stand Divine Nine, right? And I get it. They do their little community services and they have their little scholarships. That's fine, but you need to stay in your lane, because if you can will all of this influence and power and support to push the needle to get that knockoff of a Black woman into the White House, into the Oval Office behind that desk, then where was that same energy when Black boys are dealing with a school to prison pipeline? The fraternities, all you Black men, why are you not collectively pushing the Congressional Black Caucus to implement policies to help empower and enrich young Black boys? But you have all this influence and power now behind this, I need a word to call her, this fake Black woman.
Harris and her campaign understands the value of this built-in political infrastructure, and they're leaning into it. In July alone, Vice President Harris has spoken at the national conventions for 3 Divine Nine sororities. Harris is poised to leverage this voting bloc at a level we haven't seen from a presidential nominee before.
We're not waiting for someone else to tell us what to do and how to do it.
We're creating our own playbook.
What is this going to look like in practical terms?
After church on Sunday, we go downstairs to the fellowship hall and register people that aren't voting.
Who goes to church? Nobody goes to black churches anymore. The churches are not filled. You're going to register who? Older people who still go to church, they're already registered. Young people are not in the churches. This is what I'm saying. This is bullshit. The only reason why she's activating Divine Nine is because she's part of it. And that is the only block of people that's fucking with her. Nobody believes in Kamala Harris. They are paying social media influencers millions of dollars just to pretend to endorse her, so that these social media influencers can influence their followers to vote, especially the young people, because no one believes in her.
And for those seniors that can't stroll to the polls, we're going downstairs and we're going to get them an absentee ballot.
Knocking on doors, phone calls, text banking.
This coalition is politically.
And they could stroll to the polls the same way they stroll to the church. See, when you go and you vote, when you go to your election polls to go vote in person, who are the people working there? The election poll workers. They are senior citizens. That the baby boomers and older, they always work the election polls from when they were younger in their generation. So they already strolling in their strollers, in their handicap sticker cars to go vote.
Sophisticated, digging into strategy for battleground states like Pennsylvania.
We really need turnout in Philadelphia, and we need it in certain pockets.
And sharpening the message to motivate voters.
When we say things like democracy is on the line, I think low propensity voters, they don't know what that means. So we have to have very simple talking points.
We also have white male counterparts that we also need to educate on how overly qualified this candidate is.
What I hear you saying is that the reach of the Divine Nine will not be limited to the black community.
They believe this political moment will make history for America and the Divine Nine.
What people are going to walk away with is that our organizations are a force to be reckoned with.
9.
So this is the thing. Okay, you saying that the outreach is not going to be limited to the black communities, but I dare your ass to go into MAGA country. You ain't gonna go into to that neck of the woods to try to get those people to support Kamala Harris. Hell no. And if you cannot get those people to support Kamala Harris, she's never going to sit her ass behind that desk in the Oval Office. It's just not going to happen. There are 20% of black voters already leaving the Democrat Party to vote for Trump. A majority of them are black men. So she's full of shit. And all these sororities, fraternities are full of shit too. Sorry. You have no power. Now, this whole pandering to black people, I'm calling her pandering in chief. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Luke Campbell, I call him Mr. Pop That Coochie. He always holds these X spaces as if he's some type of intellect when he's just an incel idiot. So, because I'm on X heavy, and I've been into a couple of his spaces. Oh, it's like you losing brain cells listening to his ass. And this is why I don't believe in celebrities having a forefront when it comes to politics, because they just don't know nothing about politics. They just want to get in good so they could probably get some state, local, or federal grant, or get a connection for money, or to get a check from these politicians to endorse them. So Mr. Pop the Coochie finally sat his black ass down with Kamala Harris. And this is only 1 minute and 31 seconds. I don't even know, and I don't care where this full interview is. If I ever find it, or if it's interesting enough for me to dissect it, I will, but I'm not. But the stupidity of two people talking to each other, this is what sounds like two stupid people talking to each other.
What 4 words would immediately let you know about who I am? It's not in the vocabulary.
What 4 words would immediately let you know who I am? It's not in the vocabulary. What?
It's not. When people question your blackness, you were on that bus, you were part of the civil rights movement, but the struggle is.
No, she was not. You dumb ass. And whoever did this is clever. Kamala was born in 1964. The what civil rights movement? Exactly. So in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed. You were born in 64. Okay, so maybe you experienced being bused to a preschool. Matter of fact, not even preschool, to daycare, because mind you guys, she left Oakland at the age of 5 to go to school in Canada. Canada wasn't doing busing, school busing one kid, black kids to black neighborhoods. They didn't have that issue in Canada. So what civil rights movement was she a part of? She wasn't bust nowhere. She is a liar.
Is convincing people that this is a strong black woman who lives a strong black life, and why is there any question?
You're right. It's frustrating. There was this one journalist who said to me, I'm doing this interview, and he says, well, you have family members that went to Stanford and Harvard, but you chose to go to Howard. No, elite schools like Stanford, but you chose to go to Howard. Now, you know, I was ready to hang this thing up.
Right.
I was literally, I was about to go off, which would
go off for what? You wasn't offended. You went to Howard so that you could get a black card and get enriched with black culture so that you could pander being black to work your way up in the political arena. Because the Indians weren't messing with you, because they just weren't. They're not over here like that. They don't really have that political influence nationally like Black Americans do. It's more of us than them. So it's only right for you to pass yourself off as black, because you're trying to follow the Obama effect. Obama's not even Black American. He's not. He wasn't even brought up poor. He wasn't. And to his respect, he didn't have to go to a HBCU. He went to Chicago to get his so-called black card. And he's so charismatic that he, practiced the jive talking, the mannerisms of a black man in America to pass himself off as such, to be relatable. She went to a HBCU to pass herself off as black to be relatable. That is pandering. Part of pandering.
not have been cool because I'm trying to get elected.
Yeah. But you went to Howard.
And she always has that stupid laugh.
Right, but they went to these elite schools and you went to, and I said, well, you do know that Howard University is the Mecca. Like,
exactly.
Just put that, let's put that in its place. And so the frustration, to be honest with you, is that, sometimes I'm like, look, I am not running to be Black History professor. I'm running to be president.
Right.
And you all need to figure this out. And you need to figure out the diaspora.
What the hell is she talking about? Figure what out? Figure out exactly your father's background, because it's not African American. It's not Black American. It's not even Black Jamaican. He calls himself an Indo-Aryan or Indo-Jamaican. He claims his Irish slave owners lineage and Indian and lineage. He don't claim the African Jamaicans, the black Jamaicans that were the enslaved Africans. He don't claim that. Figure out the diaspora. So basically you saying, listen, y'all figure out what y'all want to call me, but but you just make sure you let me pass as black to get your support. I can't with this girl. I can't. And look at, again, Mr. Pop the Coochie. So you have Dumb and Dumber sitting up here talking about Black America, being black, or what it is to be black in HBCUs. And I'm not sure, is Luke Campbell, is he Black American? Is he foundational Black American, or is he like got some Caribbean lineage? All right. So I say all that to say, she is trolling. Kamala Harris is trolling. I'm about to drop the link, but I need to break down. I need to break down this clip that I want to share, because I was going back and forth about whether or not to do a pre-record on this. This is no, I'm going to talk about it live. It's not going to take me long, but I think this is very important when we are talking about Kamala Harris and her non-existent policies that she would like to implement as president, and her track record as district attorney out of San Francisco. Let me share this. You guys probably seen this clip on X or maybe on TikTok. She spoke, this was 4 years ago. She spoke at the National Center of Transgender Equality Action Fund. They were interviewing her, right? And this is, I don't have a problem with the Transgender Equality Action Fund. This is not anything against them. I'm talking about, I'm going to break this down, what she is saying here, and I'm going to compare it to the Black boys and Black men in San Francisco. Her hypocrisy. And this was 4 years ago. So this is when she was running for presidency, lost, and was selected to be Biden's VP running mate. So I'm going to play the first 2 minutes. Then I'm going to talk about it. I have some notes here. Then I'm going to play the next 2 minutes, talk about it. And then the other 2 minutes, talk about it. And then I'm going to drop the link for you guys to come up. But it's very important to hear what she is saying in this interview here.
Hello, Senator Harris. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you. It's good to be with you. And just so I'm clear, my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Thank you very much. And mine are as well.
Thank you.
She, her, and hers. What? She, her, and hers? Why would you call yourself, why would a woman call herself hers? Did she not want to say they? I don't get it. But whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
I am so happy to be here with you. So you're running for president.
Yes.
And very interestingly, when you announced you were running for president, in your first speech, your first public appearance, you talked about the importance of trans rights.
In my announcement.
In your announcement.
In Oakland in January of this year.
Yeah. Well, what's your journey that got you to that point where trans rights is important to you?
I mean, I can't remember a time that they've not been important to me. When I was district attorney of San Francisco, I started, at least the first in California, maybe the first in the nation, victims assistance program for members of the trans community. Because there is so much about when somebody has been assaulted or has been victimized in any way that prevents them from coming forward if they feel they're going to be judged. are harshly judged. And I know this is true. And so I created this division of my office way back when. I mean, I was elected in 2003 to make and staffed it with members of the trans community to make sure that people who had suffered wrongdoing knew that there was a safe place for them to go where they would not be judged, where they would be treated with dignity, and where we would then make sure that they received equal rights under the law.
Okay. Let me pause it right there. All right. So, District Attorney of San Francisco created department victims for trans community. Like this. San Francisco gender-based violence resources, right? They have Asian women, APA family support, Black women revolt against domestic violence, San Francisco young Asian women, the Donaldina Cameron House, that's for domestic violence survivors, Freedom Forward, Glide Foundation, yeah, Jewish families. Anything in here about Black boys, Black youth, or anything? No. So, as you can see, she's telling you all of the things she has done in San Francisco for the LGBT community, particularly trans community. She has done nothing, and you can look it up. She has done nothing for Black youth, Black boys, Black girls, Black men, women, Black women with domestic violence, along with everyone else. She leaves out men. Okay, thank you, OG Patrice. Sorry, guys. Oh my God. I'm like playing. I'm so sorry. Can you guys hear me? Sorry. Thank you, OG. You know what, Kataria? I gotta give you my phone number, Kataria, as well. Oh my God. How long have y'all been sitting there listening? I want to have to start over. Let's see. Let me ask you this. Did you hear the first part of it? Did you guys hear the first part, or do I have to play it from the beginning? Yes, we hear that. Okay, so you heard the first part. So let me just go back.
Where they would be treated.
Can you hear that? Did you guys hear that?
Where they would be treated.
Okay, yeah. All right, here we go.
With dignity, and where we would then make sure that they received equal rights under the law.
Well, in 2006, while you were the district attorney of San Francisco, Gwen Araujo was murdered over in Alameda County across the bay.
Yeah.
And you organized a really amazing conference. It was honestly the first time you were on my radar. Do you want to talk about that and why it was important to you?
I mean, Gwen Araujo, what a tragic story. She was 17, horribly treated, and what was happening around the country is that trans women were being killed, and in particular trans women of color. And we know right now there's an epidemic, in particular around Black trans women. And then what would happen is that if the police responded, if there was an arrest, if somebody was charged, then there would be a trial, and the person who did the killing would say, I freaked out. I panicked. And then, so they call this defense, right, as a way to say, I didn't know what I was doing, therefore I'm not guilty. They would call it the trans panic defense or the gay panic defense. And I knew it was happening around the country. And at the time, I was elected DA. I was the first woman to be elected DA of San Francisco, the first woman of color to be elected DA in a state of 40 million people. And I said, we've got to do something about this. So I decided to create a training for prosecutors on how to defeat the trans panic defense. And through the National District Attorneys Association, I invited DAs from around the country, in red states, in blue states, and purple states, and they came to San Francisco. And in San Francisco, we're very proud of the fact that so many of the architects and leaders of the movement around rights for the trans community are right there in San Francisco. Many of them I've worked with for years. And so I brought them in to do a training for these prosecutors.
All right, so I want to pause it right there. So the reason why I wanted to play this and break it down, she talked about equal rights, justice, and a fair trial for transgender people. When you talk about the LGBT community, for a very long time, especially let's just say during the AIDS epidemic, or even before that ever, they were discriminated against. I get it. Transgender, yeah. A lot of transgender people were prostitutes because no one would hire them for jobs. So Kamala Harris, being a DA, district attorney, prosecutor in San Francisco and the state of California, she has done a lot of advocacy, reforming public policies specifically for transgender and LGBTQ community. Equal rights, justice, fair trial. She even trained prosecutors to combat and defeat trans panic defense. Where was the training for Black people? No training for Black defense. No training for mental health in the Black community. No policies, no advocacy for Black people for mental health, to reform the criminal justice system for Black men, Black boys, and Black women being trialed unjustly. Training jobs to lower the recidivism rate. So when these people are locked up and they do their time, they come home, they can't find work. If you cannot work, you're going to keep committing crimes. That is a straight correlating fact. The higher the unemployment, the higher the poverty rate, the higher the crime go up. So all of these wonderful things she did for the trans community, and I'm not saying that they don't need it, because they did. but so do Black Americans. And more so in San Francisco, but I'm going to get to those stats in a minute because I want to finish up playing the rest of this clip.
On who the community is, the historic prejudice and hate that folks have experienced, and the need to understand and respect and give dignity. And it was the first of its kind in the nation. And yeah, that was back in 2006.
Now, this is a very broad question for you,
Okay.
but I think it's the most important question.
Okay.
Why should transgender people vote for you?
Because I have a long-standing commitment to fighting for the rights of transgender people, for the dignity of transgender people. I have a long-standing awareness based on my experience in the community of knowing the lives that people are living every day that are burdened with fear, that are burdened with unequal access to everything from employment to a response from law enforcement, to access to health care, to access to housing. I mean, it covers the gamut. And I'm fully aware of it. And again, this is not new to me. That's why way back when, with the power that I had, I used it in a way that was about pushing forward the movement, frankly, and the agenda. And so look at my record to know when I was Attorney General, I learned that the California Department of Corrections, which was a client of mine, I didn't get to choose my clients.
Right, a client of the Attorney General.
A client of the Attorney General,
Right.
of the Office of Attorney General, that they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need. And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually it may have been one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Corrections. So you can just look at all the work I've done over the years to know. I feel very strongly about this. And at its core, it's a civil rights issue. It's a justice issue. And it's an issue of humanity.
Well, Senator.
So that was basically the end of that interview. It was 7 minutes. It was short, right? So again, this person here asked her, why should the transgender community vote for Kamala Harris? And she just laid it out. The policies, she has a connection, she's fighting for your needs. Even convicted criminals who are sitting in prison. She actually, I think she said she was the first to fight for and pass to allow them to have their surgeries with our tax dollars, which is true because even on a federal level, in these federal prisons, if you're a transgender, they pay for your hormone pills and they pay for your transitioning surgery on our tax dollars. So the people of the state of California, their tax dollars on their local prison systems pays for that. When you talk about the historic prejudice and hate towards Black Americans, not once did she talk about it. Of course, she's not going to talk about it here to the transgender community. She hasn't sat down with any Black organizations to talk about the neglect and the need for a remedy. Has anybody who support Kamala Harris, Divine Nines, Mr. Pop That Coochie, the Roland Martins, all you Black women in media, has anyone asked her straight up, why should Black Americans vote for you? They have not. Men, win with men, Black men for Kamala. Why haven't you asked her, why should we vote for you? You see this person here asking her, why should the transgender community vote for you? See, every other group, even the LGBTQ community, they know how to advocate for themselves and make sure that the policies that they need are being pushed and created on their behalf. We are not doing that. At the very least, ask this woman, why should Black people vote for you? Because if you look at her record, she has done nothing in the state of California for Black Americans. She locked them up, the Black men, Black boys. She locked up Black parents. That is a fact. Getting policies to protect and enhance their group. Meanwhile, Black Americans, we have a historical disenfranchisement when it comes to Black boys and Black men, school, the prison pipeline, a corrupt DA and prosecutor's office, false claims, falsely accusing Black boys and Black men of a crime they did not do. No programs while they're in prison, or even programs from housing, healthcare, all the things she's given to the transgender. She's not doing that for Black men coming home from prison. She's not even doing it for the ones that are not in prison. And if you heard her in this interview, she said that the Department of Corrections is the Attorney General's client. This is a business. See, I didn't know that. So if the Department of Corrections is the Attorney General's client, even the DA's client, that means in order for them to stay in business and to keep that client, which is a very big client, you need to have bodies to fill up these jails and these prisons. And that's why you see so many Black boys and Black men in juvenile, in prisons, in city jails. It is a business. And that is her clients. So she need to have your Black ass locked up so that she can stay in power. So when you ask her, why should we vote for you? She won't be able to answer that question. Because when she had an opportunity, because she just said it here, attorney generals have the power to create policies and change policies within the Department of Corrections. She has not utilized that for Black men or boys. But she used all of her influence and power for transgender. I'm trying to make the case between the two. Yes, the transgender community are a targeted group, but so are Black men. And Black men have been a targeted group for centuries in this country. So I want to go to the stats here. The percentage of Black people in San Francisco jails have varied over time, but has generally been higher in the percentage of Black people in the city's population. In 2008 to 2014, 43% of Black people booked in San Francisco jails were Black, even though Black people make up only 6% of the city's population. In 2013, 44% people booked in the San Francisco County Jail were Black, which is 9 to 10 times higher than the city's Black population. 2018 to 2024, 26% of people in San Francisco were Black. May of 2024, some say that 50% of people in San Francisco jails were Black. So you mean to tell me in the city of San Francisco alone, Black people only make up 6% of the population for over a decade? Yeah. Oh, no. For almost a decade. Almost a decade. Well, no, let's just say for over a decade. and 43% are booked in the jail system. 44% make up the population of the county jail. How is that possible? So you mean to tell me the lowest percentage of population in that city, because the rest of the population are white, Asian, LGBTQ. So you mean to tell me if 50% of the people occupying the county and the city jail system are Black, and they are only 6% of the population as a whole in that city, why haven't you created any policies specifically for that group? Give me a second. So I want to go back to, why should Black Americans vote for her? Ask her that. Ask her, why haven't she, when she had the opportunity to be the DA of San Francisco, the Attorney General in the state of California, why haven't she created policies and programs and influence for Black boys, Black men, Black women, the same way she's done for the transgender community? But you have all these divine nines, you have all these celebrities, you have all these so-called woke Black people supporting her ass as the first Black woman president, and she's done nothing but lock you the hell up. Criminal Justice Racial Equity Work Group. Same thing here. Between 2018 to 2024, 43% of individuals booked in San Francisco jails were Black, even though 6% of the city population were Black, right? Advocacy. Is this what I wanted? No. This is, I thought it was something else that I saved. Now, I will say this. The new district attorney in San Francisco, matter of fact, the new attorney general, and I thought I had that clip up here. The new attorney general that took over since Kamala Harris went to the Senate, he was able to secure $2 million specifically for Black men who are coming out of the prison system. I thought I had that here. Maybe not. Not this one. Gender-based people. No, not this one. I thought I had that exact thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point that I'm trying to make here is, let's see, Attorney General of San Francisco. She has not done anything when she was prosecutors, when she was Attorney General in California, but she created a whole lot of policies for LGBTQ communities, specifically transgender. And what I'm trying to correlate here is, how can you not address the problems of these Black people in and out of the prison system in that city, probably within that state, but in that particular city? Why haven't you created or advocated for Black Americans? That's the bottom line. That's what it comes down to. It took the person who replaced her when she left to go be Senate to actually say, okay, we have a problem. Oh, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for something else. This is it. Yes. Sorry, guys. This is it. So in 2018, the San Francisco District Attorney Office secured a $2 million grant from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation to reform San Francisco criminal justice system. The office is using these funds to reduce the overall over-resilience on incarceration and change practices that disproportionately impact people of color, low-income communities, and people with behavioral health needs. So the current San Francisco district attorney is actually doing something to address the high incarceration rate of Black people in that city. In 2018, she has been in that position for damn near a decade and has done nothing. But it took a man who is not Black. He's of Asian descent or Hispanic. I forgot his name. It's not really important right now. But it took a man, a person who is not Black, a person who has no Black lineage, to say we have a problem with people of color and low income and people with behavioral health needs when you're talking about mental health. So the reason why I wanted to highlight that is to show you that she has no plan, she has no policy, and why are Black people supporting her? Haven't we learned anything from the fake Obama effect? Because he hasn't done anything either. The only thing this man ever did was My Brother's Keeper initiative. And that went nowhere. Nobody talks about that. Where are you Black men? Did you get any funding from the federal government? And if you did, what happened to these programs? So why are you allowing yourself again for the third time, because you voted for Obama twice, I did, but then I woke up. But why are you allowing yourself for the third time to vote based on skin color? Because she has no policy for this country, and she damn sure has no plan and no policies for Black Americans. You're right. It was for minorities. However, who are the majority sitting in the jails right now? Of course, they're not going to say Black. But when I put this here, improve case processing, jail population review, connect people to supportive services, the root out, implement bias. They do say Black. At least in this initiative, in this grant, they do acknowledge Black people in print, which is very important. And they outlining the 5 strategies to reverse it. She didn't create this when she was DA. She didn't create it when she was Attorney General. She got together all of the prosecutors throughout this nation to focus on Transgender Self-Defense Act. So the point that I'm really trying to make here is we have to start advocating for ourselves. And you have to start asking, not just Kamala Harris, but other politicians, white, Black, or what have you, why should Black Americans vote for you? Ask them that. And then see the answer that you give. Compare her answer to Donald Trump's answer. Compare Tim Walz's answer to J.D. Vance's answer. But you got to ask them these questions. You can't just sit and wait for them to do something for you, because they're not. They're not. All right. Should I still drop the link? Let's see. I don't know. I'll drop the link to see if you guys want to come up. I haven't done that in a while. Kamala Harris hasn't held no press conference. Yeah. Let me get to the super chats. Thank you, Measurement. Be a fence. They have my pressure up. Dana, please reach out to Strong, Cori, Marlon. It's time for us to unite. No George Brown bashing on my watch, but no, I see a synergy. Thank you so much, Measurement. Send me an email. Actually, let me put my email down here if you don't know it. Yeah, send me an email. Thank you, Walter Worldborn. Appreciate you. JD lost me when he called out cat ladies. He gonna have to relax. Well, that was a bad choice of words, but you know, her husband is Jewish. Her husband is Jewish, so she figured I made my Jewish quota. Mr. G1804, all the homies in the hood go to yell like JD. Thank you, Max, for your member gifted. Yes. So, you gifted a membership. Thank you, Max. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Please share, hit the like button. Hi. Wait a minute. Let me see. Hello.
Hi, how's it going, Dana? I love this topic. I love your show. And where's Joe?
Oh, we on hiatus. We'll be back if not next week, Thursday, definitely the following week.
Yeah, because what he said, I mean, I got that sent to me from so many people. So I'm from California, born and raised in the Bay, was here during Kamala's years in 2004. Now, I never got caught up in her system, but it was well recognized and known that there was definitely some Kamalaism to get caught up in if you went over to across the Bay in San Francisco and did anything almost, because they were honest. They were on the blacks really, really bad during that time, and she did nothing except for lock up. That's probably why she doesn't want him chatting it at the rallies, because it'll make people remember that that's what she did to black and brown people, was lock them up. So her policies, that's what I keep saying. People are like, oh, so you don't think she's black? Nope, I don't. Because when she was introduced as the California senator, all of those interviews introduced her as the first Indian senator. Nobody in those interviews said, oh, you're biracial. She didn't correct anybody and say, oh, I'm biracial, not just Indian. She didn't say Indian and black. She didn't say that. No, in all of those interviews, if you go back and catch them, she touted her Indian only. First Indian this, first Indian AG, first Indian DA, first Indian senator, no biracial anything. And then now we're just supposed to be like, oh, because you went to a black college, which, by the way, Mindy Keeling's brother also wrote a book about how he passed as black.
Yeah. We talked about that too on being a judge. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's within their Indian culture to do this because of their caste system. And then if you look at her wording in her autobiography about how her mother came to raise her in Oakland, she used the words because her mom's name is Golem or something, knew that she would be seen as black, not that she was black. She knew that she would be seen as black. So she introduced her to Aretha Franklin, and she basically let her get immersed in a black culture because she would be seen as that here in America because of the caste system that they are used to in her own country that she visited every 2 years. And then this whole being bused, look, same decades as this lady. She only got a few years on me. The buses weren't still running to take my mom and dad to school in Oakland, and they were in school before her. It's just the lies, the gaslighting.
It is a lie. She left Oakland at the age of 5 to go to Canada.
That's what I'm saying. and stayed there until she was after like after 12 years old. So what's all this you were it's just lies, and people play black people so stupid. Like we're just like, okay, they already got over on us with Obama. I agree. He did nothing for us. And people want to act like, oh, he couldn't. People get done what they want to get done. Okay. He did a lot of bombing over in the motherland while he was president. He wanted to get that done, but he couldn't do nothing for Black Americans. Okay, dude. And now here she comes. Her and Biden promised us a George Floyd anti thing. They promised us the marijuana thing. They promised us this. They promised us that. And even the money that they promised to HBCUs, which once they become federally funded, now you have to let everybody in. So that was just a setup too. That was like a backdoor fugazi, because you're giving money to something just so you can backdoor allowing other people in and still touting, oh, I went to a HBCU. Well, you just ruined them for the rest of us, girly. You know what I mean? And it's just a lot. I'm kind of overwhelmed because people that look like me bash me for asking, what is she going to do for us? What has she done for us? When was the last time she thought of us in a positive way? Not to mention when she got up in the office during that first 100 days after Sleepy Joe told the Black leaders that they were going to have to wait, and never got back at him until right now when he needs their vote. She was in the other room saying, oh, I'm not going to do anything specifically for Black people.
Exactly.
And then she went on to pass an anti-Asian hate crime bill for her Asian side. So you can do stuff specifically for what you want to do specifically. First thing she said as soon as he bowed out of the race, which, by the way, this isn't the democratic process that I've ever been aware of, where the delegates just decide who's on the final ticket. I thought I was supposed to be able to vote on that at some time and actually get to hear debates from great minds as they pontificate where America should go. And their refusal to let the democratic process happen is exactly what they're alleging the Republicans are doing. But at least the Republicans had a general debate. They had all the people talk. The people were talking out the side of their neck. And then they decided on 45 again. But us, Joe lied to us. He's just as much of a liar as 45. He promised us that if we voted for his no-nose ass, I'm sorry, that he would only be a transitional president. So the audacity of him to waste the American people's time and give us 107 days to get our act together and stop 45 from being 47. I'm like, they're two cheeks of the same ass at this point. And the American people are getting poo-pooed on. You know what I'm saying? And this is not democracy. This is not fair. And I really hope and pray that her fake pandering Blackness, she may as well have pulled hot sauce out of her purse. We were way mad when Hillary pulled hot sauce out of her bag. Why aren't we mad at Kamala wearing us like a costume? We need to gatekeep what is of Blackness, what is really of Blackness, much stronger, because when reparations does come down, she's not a foundational American. She's not a foundational American, but her saying that she's Black is going to let her be in line for my reparation dollars from my foundational Black Americans.
She's the type of person that will probably have us share with the Indians and Asians and, everyone
Yeah,
else.
the people that had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Yeah, give it to all of them. Just go ahead. And the trans too, there's only 1.6 million trans people in the United States. And she doing stuff for them. There's 45 million Black people up in here. And we can't get nothing, Kamala. But you love us and you're us. And you were born Black and you'll die Black. Please, I need a birth certificate. I sound just like Trump now. I need to see a birth certificate, because Jamaica isn't a race. It's not a freaking race, you guys. It's a nationality. We need us to ask the hard questions. Where's Ice Cube when we need to see what contract these people are going to do with Black America? Anyway,
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, LRGA Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming up. Well
Right on.
said. Thank you. All right. So, hi, OG Patrice.
Hey, Dana, how are you?
So they have this military practice thing at this private airport not too far from my house. And so you can hear the military helicopters flying over, which is so annoying. So that's why I was like, give me a minute. Hi.
Right. How you
Um
doing?
Good. So
I
thank you so
know.
much for texting me, letting me know it was muted. It happens that when I go in and out like that. But
Yeah.
so yeah, so you wanted to comment. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the young lady before me gave an excellent analysis
I
on
love when people from that area call in and chime in
yeah.
because they have firsthand account. But yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with 99.999% of what she said. And just to add my own little 1 cent or whatever to it is, when you look at Kamala, and only compliment I will give her is because I met her in person. She actually came to my job when she was running for president. And she's absolutely gorgeous in person. That's the only compliment I gave her. I told her that TV doesn't do her justice because she is gorgeous. But I did not.
And who's
I
gorgeous?
told her,
Kamala?
yeah, like in person,
Okay.
yes, yeah, in person, like yeah.
Mhm.
So but I told her that because she asked me. That's the only reason why I told her. She was I going to give her my vote, and I told her no, and she asked why, and I told her I didn't care for her policy. I didn't care for some of the things that she did not do for Black people when she was attorney general, and when she was DA. And I specifically brought up the Jamal Lovelace case. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but that is a young man that spent 6.5 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And when the judge found out through the DNA and asked for him to be released, it went back all the way back to Kamala's office. And she did not want to release that young man. The judge had to literally threaten her job in order for her office to finally release that man. And after 6.5 years, he got a $13 million settlement. Or how about the women that she tried to lock up, or the parents she tried to lock up in California with that whole truancy law that women particularly that had dropped off their kids at school, but your kid can choose to go out the back door and play hooky, and you don't know that because you at work. You're locking up these parents. So it was a lot of nefarious things that she did that was very detrimental, even to the point where she knew that all of the DNA evidence, predominantly for Black people, had been tainted with in one of the biochemistry offices during her run. And a lot of people that were innocent were still locked up in prison. She didn't want to release them because they were making those prison license plates for $2 a day or something. And she literally said that it would reduce the productivity. I mean, come on, like
Because
people
that's
need to wake up.
people need to wake up. People need to listen to, because when I played that video, she said the Department of Corrections is our client.
Yep.
What does that
She had
mean?
to-
That means that if they go out of business, for them to go out of business is to not have bodies. What is it's a business. It's a business of making sure that it is stacked with bodies for cheap labor, you know what I'm saying? For other costs or whatever. But that's her client. So listen, if she doesn't have clients, she's out of a job. So for her to keep that job and for people in that position to keep that job, the Department of Corrections, probably one of their biggest ever clients, they need to stay in business, which means they need bodies. So they work together to make sure these jails and prisons are packed.
Right. And here's the thing. Oh, it wasn't the prison license place. It was they were fighting. Were paying them $2 a day to be firefighters when those wildfires was going on in California. But she didn't want to release them. And these same said men that were firefighters under the prison system would get out of prison, but they couldn't fight no fires in real life and make no real money because they were felons. But you wanted to use them persistently in the prison system for $2 a day. Which is slave pay.
Slave
I mean,
labor.
come on.
Yeah.
Yes, slave labor. Yeah. So, and to say that she's not going to do anything specifically for Black people, but you can do things specifically for the Asian race, specifically for the LGBTQIA plus, and not saying that they don't need it, but when it comes to us, it's either no or we got to add other races of people in on it in order for us to get something. But
Exactly.
she hasn't given anything. Yeah,
Right.
so she definitely wouldn't be getting my vote. And I would encourage, and I don't care if having the conversation with people that look like me that are offended or my relatives, friends. I don't care. I vote policy. I don't vote people.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, Thank you, OG Patrice. It's been a minute, but I'm glad you be listening. And I said
Yes.
I have to give Catalia. Catalia, listen, email me so I can email you my number as well. So I can have multiple people say, hey, your sound is off or whatever. Because thank you so much for texting me and letting me know. Because sometimes
you welcome.
yeah, if I go in and out, if I switch from YouTube to something else and go back to YouTube, the sound doesn't connect or whatever. But you know, it is what it is. So
Right. Well, I'm
I
here
always
when you need, girl. You know, I'm just a phone call or a text away as well. And I know it's been a while since I've been up here, so it feels good to be up here with you again. And you know, I'm always a support system for you. So just reach
thank
out.
you. Appreciate you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Take care now.
You too. All right, guys, listen. I did 2 hours today. I'm good. I'm so proud of myself. And I'm thinking, should I push this on Wednesdays to 8 p.m.? I'm thinking 8 p.m. Maybe 7 just too early. Honey, I need to color my hair. I can't do this. I cannot do this. Excuse me. Anyway, listen. Thank you to everybody that donated. Everybody on X. Love you guys. Courtney Smith, this channel is the best. Thank you so much. Joe was in hospice. He probably is. And I'm like, step down so this girl could be president for 5-6 months. Because that's the closest she ever gonna get. Dana, you did an amazing job on Savvy Sat platform the other day. I see a lot of growth. Thank you, Staggers Music. Appreciate you. That was a good panel. It was good. I really enjoyed myself over there. Thank you, Jaren. Thank you. Appreciate you. This live lit. Salute. Thank you, the Bay Boomer. Are you from the Bay? All right, so what's the judge did a recent interview. He was talking some real stuff too. He always talk real stuff. Yeah. Hey. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Walter. Appreciate you. Yeah, you never say never, but listen, it's up to us. Like the one thing we could do if we never get a chance to personally be in front of Kamala Harris and ask why should Black Americans vote for you? Why should Black Americans vote for Kamala Harris? Just why? Maybe I need to do a show on that. Why should Black Americans vote for Kamala Harris? And I'm gonna put that question. I think I'm gonna put the question, see what answers I give, because I think I could put questions in the chat. Why? You mean to tell me we should vote for her because she's Black, because she's a woman, because she's better than Donald Trump, because she's going to save this country? Save this country from what? Donald Trump isn't president right now. What did Joe Biden do that was so wonderful that he did a 360 from what Trump did? What? Because I can name a whole bunch of negatives. So why should Black Americans vote for Kamala? I'm confused. And shame on you, Black men that support her, because this woman kept y'all in prison. Thank you, Alexander. Appreciate you. And she ain't Black. All right, guys. So I will be playing another best of Man Up show tomorrow night. And you guys could catch me at The Real Judge Joe Brown tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Have a wonderful evening. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Did she keep innocent people? Some of them were innocent. Some of them were too poor to get a good lawyer and they plead out. However, even when they were guilty and they did their job, and they served their time, she did not have any type of resources for them to get a lift up. But she had those resources for transgender people who were coming out of the prison system. So why couldn't she do the same for Black Americans? That's all. All right. And good night to everybody on X. Good night to everybody on YouTube. Love you guys. Bye.